think I've shared this with a lot of you at this point. This is my packet, my very brief version of my packet of information for having a daily routine and going through some various things on the trombone. I think one of the really important things that I'm coming up with that I've kind of I think figured more out about lately is how all of us need to develop some sort of routine, daily routine that works for us. And it really depends on what you're doing and what it is that you're interested in, how you play the trombone, how often you play the trombone, all those things that you have to work in on a daily routine. But I really think it's important to have something. So, kind of an example of this with two different extremes, I think, and then I'll kind of tell you how I fit into this. I have a really good friend of mine who, kind of in a normal year, is playing the second trombone with the Louisiana Phil down in New Orleans. It's a tier two, really good orchestral group, and then he does a bunch of uh, solo gigs and chamber gigs and freelance work in the New Orleans area. And he's also still kind of based out of Detroit. So he does a lot of stuff out of Michigan as well. His daily routine is something like an hour and a half long. Like he takes a really long time to do this. And that's because he's a pro and he has time in his day to do it because that's really what he's getting paid to do. Um, and it's really important to him to be able to do that. So he really sets aside huge amounts of time on a daily basis to just do a routine. Um, I also have a friend who is retired now from teaching the trombone and still plays, some community symphony things and has a brass quintet and stuff. But it's really not the main focus of his retirement. Actually, the main focus of his retirement is starting a brewery, which, of all things, going from trombone to brewery, I'm not sure I get it, but it's not his main focus anymore. He's kind of switched that focus a lot, and he still warms up every day. He still has a daily routine, but it's only about 12 or 15 minutes, which was kind of surprising to me to hear this. For one thing, I had worked with this person as a professional, and they used to warm up for about an hour every day. And for another thing, it just seemed wild to me that they felt like they still needed that, even if they weren't playing every day. So I guess it's kind of important to strike out those different positions, but that both players are still doing a daily routine every day, and really trying hard to not skip it. Because if they do skip it, they don't feel like they're playing their best. I've told some of you this already, but the way I fit in on all of this is I try to have kind of a happy medium. And I change my routine based on my day. So today, I knew that I was going to have to do a lot of playing. Today was an audition day at UL, so I knew I had to get up early and that I had to be ready to do some playing for that audition day. I knew that I wanted to do some playing for this group today, so I definitely knew that I had to warm up and be ready to go. I probably started around 5:30 this morning, starting to do some long tones and some stretching, and started working through some of my daily routine. I can also tell you that I didn't do my daily routine all in one blast. I did some other things in there. I had to get up and feed the cats, and I had to make breakfast for the fam, right? And I had to take care of a couple other chores this morning as well. And then I left the house and I finished up warming up here at work. So you can split it up. It doesn't all have to be at one time. Thinking of, Elias, you have to go to high school and you have to go to classes. So that stuff definitely takes priority. And so your warm up may be before band, or maybe you can warm up a little bit before classes start, but then you got to finish later or something like that. And so you got to figure out how to fit it in. Charles and Andrew over there, you guys are going to middle school and you probably don't have time to warm up for an hour and a half every morning. No, not so much. So again, you got to figure out how to fit it in. And the big thing is that you're thinking about how to fit it in for you so that you get the things done. I'm just going to give you some ideas about what I think really works well, and then you can go from there and take it on to the next level. So the first thing I have in here is some stretching and some breathing. I think it's really, really important that we all consider the stretching and the breathing to be part of our daily routine, whether we're playing trombone or not. Does everybody stretch before they have PE class or before they do some sort of physical thing like your daily exercise or something? Yeah, probably most of us do. As we get older, if we don't, we're going to be in a whole lot of pain. And for some of us, myself, as I've aged significantly in the last 5 or 6 years, I've noticed that I spend a lot more time stretching for even my daily life than I maybe ever thought I would. So before I start to play trombone, I like to specifically focus on some areas that are going to help me play the trombone better. So one of the things I love to do is I love to do just a gentle neck stretch. And you can do this seated like we're doing right now. You can do it standing. You can sit on the ground. You know, it doesn't really matter how you do this, but I like to bring my head forward and just see if I can't loosen up some of my neck muscles along the side of my neck, going down into my upper back. Sometimes if that feels good, I might even like gently being the word, push down on my head a little bit. Then I like to go over to one side. And when I do this, I like to really focus on dropping the shoulder that's opposite the direction my head's going. That really helps me get a nice stretch in my neck and in my back. Then I might kind of come back down like this and go to the other side. Again, focusing on that opposite shoulder. Cool. That sort of thing really seems to help. Kind of like do a couple little head rotations. And for me, even having done this already today, but just doing it now, I feel a little bit more focused, a little bit more centered, and I also feel like I can really give it my all when I'm actually playing the trombone. The next thing I like to do is kind of warm up my lungs and my breathing apparatus. There's lots of ways of doing this, but I really think the simplest by far is just focusing on an easy, relaxed breath. And you'll see on here that I talk about this 4-count inhale, the 4-count exhale, and changing that up. I just like to start with a 4-count inhale, exhale all together. So here's what it's going to be like. I'm just going to snap my fingers. We're going to pretend to scoop up air into our mouths and then blow it out. So it'll be like this. So you notice that I scoop it in and I immediately push the air out. I don't hold it. I'm trying to reduce any sort of tension in my body. And if we hold air, that'll increase tension just a little bit. Let's try it all together. 1, 2, 4 in, 4 out. One more time. All right. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually do one that's not on this page, but I've decided I really like a lot right now. We're going to do 4 in, 3 out. I'm sorry, not 4 in, 3 in, 4 out. So 3 counts in, 4 out. 1, 2, ready, and again. Cool. And now what we're going to do is 2 in, 4 out. 1, 2, all the air. Yeah, cool. Now we're going to take it one step further and do 1 breath in, the same amount of air. We're just going to get it all in 1 count, and then 4 out. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and again. Cool. Now, any questions about that breathing exercise? I need to update my packet so I show you that one. The next thing I like to do is I like to do a breathing exercise, and I like to include just a little bit of an articulation exercise. And that's really good because it helps kind of wake up my tongue. Now, we make a big deal out of the tongue in trombone all the time, and it is important. But one of the things that we forget is that the tongue doesn't actually start a note. The air behind the tongue is what starts the note, and the tongue just gives definition to that start. Does that make sense? So what we're going to do is we're going to do a breathing exercise with an articulation exercise on top of it. It's like this. We're going to scoop in the air on one beat, and then we're going to say toe, and we're actually going to use our other hand to kind of pretend to throw the articulation. And this is where it's kind of fun to be on Zoom because we can all kind of like throw our hand at the camera, right? It's going to be pretty fun. So it's going to be like this. You're going to go, you're going to have to get your hand ready, and you're going to go, and you're going to want that action to match up with your articulation. We'll try it a couple times. Let's just see how it goes. So here we go. Ready, and again. One more time. Cool. Now, it's really easy. I can't hear anybody today, which is kind of the difficult thing about Zoom. But it's really easy to turn this into kind of a tension-based exercise. We kind of start to go or something like that. Maybe that was an exaggeration, but we can have a lot of tension in our neck from doing these sorts of things. So you want to make sure that everything is a rounded, open sound. I recently had a student ask me, how do you make sure something's rounded and open? Well, here's the deal. We can't control these muscles in our oral cavity or in our neck to the point where we can say, okay, neck muscles, relax. We just don't have that kind of control over them. But what we can do is we can think about vowels that relax our apparatus, and we can also think about keeping everything aligned. When we're aligned, again, when our posture's aligned and our head's actually sitting on top of our neck, right? And our neck is on top of our shoulders, and our shoulders are squared over our hips, and our hips are squared over our feet, that will almost force our body into a relaxed state where the apparatus at least is relaxed. If you're totally relaxed, you're a puddle of nothing on the floor. So you have to have some tension in your body, but you want to make sure the tension's in the right places. So stacking yourself up is really important. And then I also like to think about the vowel oo, o, or aw to help relax me. Everybody just say that at home. Say ooh. It's a nice open oral cavity. Your neck's probably pretty relaxed. If you say oh, that's pretty easy too. Ah might be a little less. Say ah. Ah. There's a little less relaxation to that. A little bit more tension in the oral cavity. But all of those are a lot more relaxed than thinking e, ah, I is the worst, you know? So trying to keep those vowels in your mind as you play, which is one of the reasons why sometimes when we're talking about vowels, I think toe, because that's a nice O sound, or ta, that's a nice open, round sound. So all of those things can be helpful when breathing. There's a number of other, I'm going to provide this packet to all of you in the chat here when we're done. And I think most of you have it already, but there's a number of other exercises in there for breathing that you can certainly check out. And then I always like to do long tones as well. And we're going to do a few long tones together just for kicks. And I want to change them up just a little bit than the way I've done them in the past, just to show you one other thing that works really well. What we're going to actually do is instead of articulating these long tones, we're going to gliss them. And this is a Remington idea, and this is also a long time idea from, from like Arnold Jacobs and stuff. So we're just going to try to keep our embouchure making the right sound, and then using our slide to change that sound. So the idea here is that if I do a long tone from B flat to A, I'm really just using the slide to lower the pitch. I'm not doing a lot of manipulation with my chops. So it'd be kind of like this. I would be lying if I told you there was no change in my embouchure or my aperture, because something had to change a little bit to make the buzz change. But I'm trying to reduce all those changes as much as possible. So let's try it. We're going to go nice and slow like that. I'm going to put my metronome on, I think. If I can get it to load. Here it is. Yeah, this is good. Can everybody hear that okay? Okay, cool. So we'll just take it at this tempo and we'll do whole notes just like what's on the page. And we'll take a breath when we need to. And we're just going to gliss to each one. Let's try it. 1, 2, breathe. How did that go for everybody? Feel like you're able to kind of control things, keep it all set? Cool. Let's try it a little lower. Let's actually just go down an octave from there. So we'll do this one. We'll try this one just a little slower. Try this. Down in the lower octave. 1, 2, ready. Good. So you notice at a certain point when I'm playing that out loud, hopefully you could still hear it over Zoom, it starts to break up just a little bit. And that's because the aperture does need to kind of track for the note. And that's partly what we're doing when we do this is we're kind of training our bodies so that the aperture will track that. And I think that's something that's worth thinking about. Now, one of the things that I think is really worth your time is thinking about as little change as possible into the valve, second partial valve range. And that's something that I have just a little bit of on this page, as you can see. But what I want to do is actually just change it up a little bit from what you see written there. So we're actually going to try it like this. What you're going to try to do is keep yourself from moving here too much and just allowing yourself to open up into that range just a little bit. If you don't have a valve, that's okay. The two that we're going to do, we're actually going to go to F and to E, so you can go out to 6th and to 7th for this one, and just notice that there's a pretty big change on that. So let's just try that one real quick. Just see if we can't pop into if we can kind of keep ourselves from popping into the low range. We'll go with the metronome. 3, 1, 2, breathe. Yeah, cool. One of the other things that I forgot to mention is that if you're making this transition happen without a lot of extra tension, you're going to run out of air super quick. And that's a good thing. That's definitely a good thing. That just means that you're using an air-driven sound versus an embouchure-driven sound. Any questions on the long tone stuff? A few of these ideas are a little different than I've shown a few of you in the past, so hopefully that helps out with a few other things. So the last big thing that I want to point out today when we're doing lip slurs, and when we're doing warm-ups, is actually lip slurs and proceeding with some lip slurs where you're actually moving through your instrument to build range just a little bit. So I'm actually going to start down here on this one, this last line. We're going to be on B to E, and this would be in 7th position. And we're actually going to change just a couple things about this. We're going to play it exactly as written, except then we're going to add another one where we actually go up one more partial. So it'll be kind of like this. Now we can extend that as far as we want. We could extend it all the way up to 10th, 11th, 12th partial if you're working on those ranges. But I think just extending it even one more partial up is really useful. The other thing that we're going to try to do is we're going to try to not make huge breaks between the partials on these. So sometimes when we play out in 7th position, or even when we play in 1st position, we end up with really big breaks between the partials. That sort of thing, right? Have we all had that? I've had it. We can all admit to it, right? When we get that break, it means that we're 100% relying on the partial on the trombone to essentially grab the note and send it out the horn. But what I like to do is I like to be in charge of what's actually going to come out of the end of the bell. So what I'm trying to do is as I go towards a partial, either ascending or descending towards a partial, I'm trying to kind of hold that partial back just a little bit. And it's a kind of a chop thing that happens. And holding that back is going to give you a lot more flexibility in the long run. So when you're doing these sorts of things fast, it's going to be a lot easier. This concept's a little tricky, and it's usually one I don't bring up at a masterclass, but because I think most of you have had some lessons with me before on this, I think it's worth talking about. So let me just see if I can't show you just a little bit of what I'm talking about, and then I'll show you how to practice it. So did you hear how I kind of allow the note to bend just a little bit? That's that control that I'm talking about. And what I try to do every day in my warm-up is I'm trying to create that bend and make it longer and longer and longer to the point where hopefully on some of my partials, I'm actually able to bend down all the way to it. Oh, not quite there yet on that one today, though. Let's try that together. We're going to try the last one. On the page, we'll do B to F, 7th position. We'll set a tempo here. Let's try this. Yeah, this should be fine. We'll try to bend all of those lip slurs, either ascending or the descending. See how that goes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. How did it go? Yeah, pretty good. Good. Awesome. Good. So I think that's something that's worth doing. And then I work on doing that all the way up the slide. So I think basically what I'm telling you without having told you directly is I've started playing this exercise at the bottom and moving up. I've been doing that for about a year, and I think it really helps. So one of these days I'll get the grad students to fix this document so it actually shows that. So the next thing I like to do with this is I like to buzz it. And I grab out my handy dandy mouthpiece to buzz on that. Or if you've got a cutaway, which soon all of you should have a cutaway. Yeah, that's awesome. But for now, you can just buzz on your mouthpiece. And we're going to buzz the same thing, except this time we're going to 100% get that bend all the way down. It's going to go. Could everybody hear that? Did Zoom cut out on me? Okay, cool. Awesome. So we're going to do the last line of this exercise with the metronome, and we're going to bend like crazy. 3, 4, 1. Yeah. And then if you're feeling real sassy, you can just be real buzzy. Any questions about how to do that on the cutaway or on the mouthpiece? No? Okay, cool. Has anybody been trying this? Todd, Brandon, have you tried this lately? Bill, have you been doing this?
I mean, are you talking about like doing this particular warm up or like buzzing in
The
this
bend,
particular warm up?
the bending of the buzz.
A
Yeah.
little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a little bit.
For sure.
Feel like it's helping your flexibility some?
Definitely.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. Keep trying it. Cool. So you're going to notice when I give you this link to this that there's a whole bunch of other lip slurs in here. You can approach these lip slurs any way you want. You know, you can do the lip bending thing. You can try to approach these like I call these lip slurs from memory, but you can try to approach these as fast lip slurs and try to do these as fast as you can. Here's some lip slurs with a vowel. These are great if you're working into the low range a little bit. There's some conditioning lip slurs here for your security, mixed valve, partial extension slurs. Here's some great fast slurs. Man, why do you think I put all these in this packet? It's because lip slurs are awesome and they save us. So they're really important. The thing that I want everybody to know or realize is that you can do these lip slurs any way you want. It doesn't actually matter what you're focused on when you're doing them. As long as you're focused on something, you do have to be focused on something and that you do them. But again, figure out how to work these in. You may do some lip slurs one week, different lip slur different week, or split it up by day or whatever works for you. So the one other thing that I wanted to point out today before we get to a couple other things here is articulations. This is kind of the big question that I feel like I've been getting lately, especially as some of the students are working on district honor band music and all-state music and stuff like that. Articulations are really important. I put in this articulation exercise. I think this one works really well for getting your single tongue speed up. Um, One thing that I do want to point out is actually about your tongue. And I'm actually going to move away from this for just a second so I can actually show you a couple things. When we're playing, our tongue changes position in our mouth a lot. And I think I've been blabbing about this for like 20 years or something now. But as we buzz on the mouthpiece, if we change our pitch, the apparatus for changing pitch changes a lot. And that apparatus includes our tongue. And I always kind of show this visual. I don't have a great visual for this yet, but if you can imagine that my hand here is my tongue in my mouth. If I say toe, 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 my tongue's actually kind of angled up like this, and it kind of comes forward to say toe, 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 or it's almost going toe, 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 toe. It's really awkward to show what this is like because our tongue is a totally different muscle than any apparatus we have. So just kind of imagine, see if you can't kind of in your inner mind see what's happening to your tongue. Just try it a couple times. Toe, 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 toe. So there's a forward motion, there's an upward motion, and then there's this retraction motion. Your tongue's always going back to a set. As we go up in range, your tongue is actually going to come up in the back of your mouth. So think about playing in your upper range from your lower to upper range. You know, as you go up really high, your tongue's actually going to come way up in your mouth, and mine actually comes forward in my mouth. So articulation changes as your range changes. If I'm playing really, really low, like in the first partial pedal range, on my bass trombone, I hate to admit it, Todd, but my tongue's actually going between my teeth. It's actually going between my teeth, and sometimes it's actually hitting my lips. Like, it's kind of crazy. Um, Not everybody thinks that this is right or that this is accurate, but I really do think that this is partly what happens. Is the tongue's changing position a lot. As I go up, my tongue's really high in my mouth, and it's basically just going forward to put a bump in the airstream because the airstream's so far up in my mouth. It's just a middle range F or B flat there, and I'm kind of tonguing on the back of my front teeth. Now, everybody's a little different as to where they tongue for a different range. That's totally normal, so it may be different for you. But as you go up, and change the speed, the tongue is going to strike a different position. My tongue's already really far up when I get to that range, and so it's just kind of doing these little flicks towards the front of my mouth and kind of hitting the hard palate, or maybe even a little bit behind the hard palate. I get to a certain point where I can't buzz that high, but if I'm on the trombone and I'm playing that high, the tongue's actually like it's flat at the top at that point, and I'm just kind of raising this flat tongue thing to the top of my mouth, but it doesn't even hit the top of my mouth. It's just changing the airstream so much. So this is all to say that when you're working on articulation, you have to work on lots of different ranges for that articulation. So we're going to try this. I promised we would, so we will. If we start on a B flat, this is going to be our rhythm for the day. So toe, 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 ti, toe, 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 toe. Let's just all try that together. 1, 2, ready. So we all kind of found where that settled for us, right? We're comfortable with that. Let's go up a partial to F. 1, 2, ready. Pretty comfortable, probably. That's a nice money range for most of us, right? And then if we go up to B flat, 1, 2, ready. For me, my tongue's starting to change position a little bit. It's creeping up in my mouth just a little bit here, and then it's starting to come forward for the articulation more than it's going up for the articulation. Does that make sense? Maybe? Smile and nod. Then we're going to go to D. Same thing. 2, ready. Okay, pretty good. F, it's going to change this a little bit more. 1, 2, ready. And then let's just go ahead and pop up to B flat. Why not? And let's just see what happens. Well, 1, 2, ready. I get up to about B flat, and my tongue's starting to get pretty flat. And then it's just moving forward at that point. So everybody's a little different on how that works and where they have that transition. I haven't really found anybody that's exactly the same as me. But there is a transition. There's kind of a break, if that makes sense, where you have to make some pretty big changes for that articulation. And so what I was kind of going into is as I listen to people's district honor band music, or as I listen to the All-State excerpts, what I'm finding is a lot of people are trying to articulate the same way no matter what range they're in, where you really have to be comfortable changing the way the articulation feels depending on the range. And partly that's just getting comfortable playing in different ranges, but it's also partly just this idea that we can't continue to articulate the same way if our tongue is already in a different place in the mouth. Any questions on that? Did I just get too technical? I may have. Okay. So there's a little bit about articulation. The last thing that I wanted to share with everybody today is just a little bit of information on my website. So I'm just going to screen share that real quick if I can find it. There it is. I think a lot of you have seen some of this stuff already. Here's Elias, by the way. If you go down here to the bottom of the Brass Day page, you'll actually see just a little bit of information about the trombone basic sheet. And if you want to download the PDF, you can download it right here. If for whatever reason that doesn't work and you still want a copy of it, just email me. I'm happy to share that information with anybody. So that's certainly there for sure. Just kind of especially for those of you who are in middle school and high school, if you're interested in some practice guides, but also if you're interested in some guides for your all-state auditions, I've got some videos here that you are more than welcome to check out. This is all-state set 4A. All the sets are up here now for tenor, bass, trombone, and that's too much of my face, so I'm going to scroll away from that. But all of that stuff's up here on this page now. So this is just benjaminYatesTrombone.com. I've also got a few things on here that are ways of kind of diagnosing things. This is just something if you have some interest in trying to improve some certain areas or aspects of your playing and you'd like to have a couple of guides. I've certainly got some things here that may help out with that. Some different guides, and you can tell that it was hot in the summer when I took those photos. Cool. And then over here, I've got a guide to studying Conconi. Now, many of us actually study, well, a couple of you have studied Conconi. I guess, Charles, you've done some Conconi. Elias, we kind of started you right off with Bordoni, I think. And so there's a lot of different kind of thoughts on how to do this, but I really like Conconi. I feel like these etudes really work us on slide technique and articulation technique almost much harder than Bordoni. There's maybe a few musical things that aren't as interesting about Conconi. It's maybe a little lacking when it comes to kind of a romantic era musical aspects. So I do like to use Bordoni for that for sure. But what I've done is I've recorded the first few Conconis as samples. And actually today I'm going to play Conconi. Oh, what did I choose? Oh, it looks like I chose number 5 that I'll play for everybody today just to kind of give you a little taste of what these are like for those of you who have not worked on them yet. And hopefully if I get my video editing going here in the next couple weeks, you'll be able to hear, I think I did a set of maybe 16 more. So I need to get those videos edited and up, but you can definitely check those out. These are study guides, just a way of studying the etudes, but also sometimes it's nice to just kind of hear somebody else's interpretation so that you can decide how you want to do things. And by no means do you have to do things the way I do things. It's really nice about Conconi and Bordoni as well, as you get to make your own choices. So just going to play a little of this Conconi exercise for you. is our trombone masterclass. Anybody have any questions that they want to ask? Feel free to unmute yourself. Hit me with any questions. Comments. Todd doesn't have a comment?
I'm getting there.
Yeah, I knew it.
So what I was going to add is whenever you were talking about like specifically in the low register for the articulation, one of the things that I've also heard that's kind of beneficial is thinking about like having a popcorn kernel like at the like on your lips and just like blowing it. Like that's kind of the lip shape and the articulation style for way down in the basement that I like to use.
Cool. I love that. That's great. Who gave you that idea? Yourself?
No, that was actually somebody that I talked with in my undergrad. I think it was either the trombone or the tuba professor there.
I'm going to steal that idea. I think that's great. You know, this idea that you're projecting something that's on your tongue through your between your teeth and between your lips. I think that's a really good idea, and it doesn't work for the upper range on the trombone or even the middle range, but for that low range, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. Nice, good one. Any other questions or anything?
Hey, Benjamin, what number Conconi was it that you just played just now?
That was number 5.
Okay,
In
thank
the
you.
in the Donald, it's oops, sorry, it's the Donald Miller version. Yep, yep, that's a fun one. Cool. And if anybody's looking for those, I can tell you where to buy the book, or I can certainly well, you can get the book on Hickey's. I think it's still an ensemble publication. But I can also, I'd be happy to provide a PDF sample of a couple for anybody who is interested. Really nice pieces. So I think if it's okay with everybody, I wanted to end with just one more video because we can. Where did I put it though? Here it is. So this video is actually our faculty brass quintet. And I kind of mentioned brass quintet flippantly at the beginning here, but we have our student brass quintet, and then we have a faculty brass quintet, and we all get together twice a week and rehearse, and then we try to put on a recital once a semester. And I encourage you all to watch for that information. I try to push it out via social media, and I try to push it out via a email once a semester about when we're going to do that and how we're going to do it. This year, I'm actually not playing in the quintet just for this semester. So we've got our adjunct tuba teacher playing the bass part this semester, which is really cool. But I'll definitely be pushing that information out to everybody so that you can have a chance to see this group live. Last semester, we actually live streamed from the KRVS studio. And so this is just a little clip of that, us playing a piece that's a couple of transcriptions of some folk tunes from Newfoundland. So check this out. All right. So thanks again so much for being here today. It's great to see you all. Really, really glad you could all make it. Let me know if you've got any questions about these materials or if you're having trouble finding anything. I'm happy to help you out with any of that stuff. And I know I'll be seeing a bunch of you soon. So keep me posted. And that's Brass Day 2021. Good to see you. Thanks. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks,
Congrats again,
Benjamin.
Elias.
Appreciate it.
You're welcome. All right, Brandon and Todd, if you can just hang out for a second, we'll chat a bit. See ya, Andrew. Bye, Charles.